I'm Donna.
We are welcoming you to our Zoom talk. This is one of many that we are planning on having. We've already had Karen Goen from Searching for Bubby Fisher. Today we have the wonderful Linda Feinstein. And coming up soon, we will have Barney. I don't know if you could read this, but we will have August 12th, we have author Greg Swain and Woody Swain. And August 19th, we have Linda Fisher. We also want to invite you to join our inaugural Mahjong Goes Modern tournament. I don't know how well you could read this on here, but if you go to modernmahjong.com, you can learn all about it. We are hosting a tournament that you could play. If you have a foursome, you could join. If you are single, you could sign up and we will try to pair you with other players. Any website that is National Mahjong League rules you could play on, and we are going to be sending out score sheets to level the playing field. So everybody will keep score the same way. And that's August 7th through 9th. And believe it or not, we are almost at 50 players. So as soon as we hit 50, we are going to double the value of the prizes. And we are also giving 10% of all the proceeds to the Alzheimer's Association, because unfortunately we weren't able to have our event this year. So now I'm going to turn it over to Donna to introduce our guest.
I want to thank everybody for joining us. We're very lucky to have with us today Linda Feinstein. She is a Mahjong and Canasta instructor in Manhattan, and she's the organizer and host of Manhattan Mondays at Sarabeth's restaurant in New York City. She's been hosting this since April of 2005. Welcome, Linda.
They love, and it's just, everyone's made friends. It's, you know, camaraderie.
How did that come about? How did Sarabeth come about?
Well, you know, let me just ask you, in the middle of my screen, it says continue. This meeting is being recorded. Should I just
continue? There's a button, or otherwise, it's just letting you know that it's being recorded. You don't have to
okay. Okay.
For any of you whose friends can't make it, we are going to post this on our YouTube channel after. So if anybody missed it.
Oh, that's great. No, you know, when I moved to the city, I got 5 women together and we played for 6 years every Tuesday afternoon. And I realized, you know, I taught my sister how to play so she could join the group. And I realized that I really enjoyed teaching. So I put a little tiny ad in a free newspaper that's delivered to all the apartments in on the Upper East Side. And I got a few calls and I started teaching, and then it's just word of mouth. So after around 3 years of teaching, everybody said I should open up a club because no one knew where they could play and who they could play with. So I did. My sister and I together found a restaurant, and we started with around, I don't know, I think 1 table. And we have just grown. You know, when everything ended with the virus, I was having around 26 tables, around 100 people. 105
Those
people.
who haven't had the joy of playing with you, can you just describe what the Mondays are like?
Well, right now we're in Sarabeth's. It's a very large restaurant, and they give us the whole back room. And the tables are a perfect size, which we searched for years because we went to many different restaurants. So what you do is that I send out an email on a Monday evening, and everybody needs to RSVP if they want to come, like by Thursday, Friday. And then I kind of spend the weekend putting everybody together by level. There are some tables that play together automatically, but there's a lot that don't. Someone will come in and say, you know, my girls are away, I want to play Mahjong. So I need to know everyone's level. And you come around 11:30, everybody signs in. You bring your Mahjong card, and there's a beautiful buffet, beautiful. And around 12:30, everybody is seated. They've eaten, the dishes are taken away, and everybody gets a Mahjong set. The restaurant is nice enough to hold all my Mahjong sets. I have around 30. Yeah, I know, it's a lot. And they play from like 12:30 to 4. We break for a snack around 2:15, you know, Sarabeth's famous chocolate chip cookies. and fresh fruit.
And their jam. I love their jam.
Yes, we just used the raspberry something.
Yep.
It was delicious. But it's just a nice way to spend a day with friends or to meet new friends. You learn the card, and I have all different levels. There are beginners who just learn with me, intermediate.
2005 tables that have played every Monday and have pretty much.
Yes, I do. I have around 3 tables that have been with me every Monday for 15 years. They just put away that day.
Not to name drop, but we've heard you've had quite a few celebrities come through.
Well, I have. I mean, I don't like to brag, but I get very excited when I have celebrities. But Candy Spelling, who lives in Beverly Hills, she comes with, I think, 9 of her friends. They spend a week here, and just accidentally, one of the girls called me. I would say a good 10 years ago. And they said, we're going to be in April and we need 2 tables. And it was really a thrill. And I even got to play with them, which was amazing. And I won. But anyway, that was a thrill. But, I've taught a lot of famous people, actually. I've taught Woody Allen's sister. Wow. I've taught Judith Ripka, Helene Fortunoff. It's really a thrill. I love it. I've taught at least 5,000 women over the years. And I never get tired of it. It's great meeting people when they walk through the door that you don't.
As a little like one of those infomercials within a commercial. It's a very good thing that you taught Greg, because she's coming up in a few weeks as one of our.
Yes, I saw that.
It's a great segue. So.
No, it is.
We absolutely love, one of the things we post on Fridays, we call it Fun Mahjong Find Fridays. And another thing, somebody just called it the other day, which I love, Mahjong in the Wild. So we love just happenstance Mahjong, whether it's a TV show, a movie. And on our YouTube channel, we have a whole playlist of Mahjong on Modern Family and Mrs. Maisel. Yes. So Donna and I actually went to the filming when they were here in Miami, hoping they were filming Mahjong. But it was just fun to see the filming. But we did hear you have a connection to the Mahjong scene in Mrs. Maisel.
Well, the phone rang, and it was the executive director saying, I've seen your website and I've heard about you, and we're doing a Mahjong scene in the Catskills in our 2nd season, and they wanted me to teach 2 or 3 of the women that were probably going to be at the table, and not really teach them how to play, but just so that it looks authentic. And we had this whole thing set up, and because they were in the Brooklyn Navy Yards, which is really not far from me. And I was going to drive over one day. It wouldn't have probably taken more. And, but then I get the call that they moved all the way up by, Albany, in some little town. And it was just too far. It had to be like 5-6 hours away. And then it was I would have to cancel all my teaching, but it was a thrill. And a few weeks later, somebody called me from bookkeeping there, accounting, and they said, have you gotten your check yet? I see that you were on the list. I said, well, I should have, I wanted to, they wanted me, but things happened. But so you can take me off the list, but it was really a thrill. I mean, just getting the phone call.
We made my husband an extra when they were filming Miss Maisel in Miami Beach at the Fontainebleau Hotel. Yes. So he was the bartender at the Fontainebleau. And we were watching him film, and then Dara and I went to lunch, and Dara goes, I think that's the creator of Miss Maisel, Amy Sherman Palladino, behind you. And we was like, what? So we sent over a pair of our dice with the waitress, and she brought us. So Amy and her husband came over, and we were playing Mahjong. Dara and I were playing Siamese Mahjong at lunch. And she goes, Mahjong! Yeah. Right there, she said, my mother played Mahjong, and her husband knew it too. We said, you need a Mahjong scene in the Miami Beach,
absolutely.
Season. But she said maybe, but we never saw it, Dara, right?
Well, that's fine, because one of the girls from my club that comes, Rhonda, she was actually in a few of the 2nd season. She was one of, the women in the dining room, and it was great fun. It was great fun. So, you know, I said, look,
Oh,
if you
but the
ever,
point of my story was my husband was 2 days being an extra for $10 an hour, and his check bounced from the casting
no,
agency.
no,
And he eventually got the money, but it was very funny.
that is very funny.
Yeah.
So
So
how would you describe your style of teaching?
Okay, my style of teaching, it's very hands-on. So when let's say 4 women come to my house, I give them a great instruction booklet that they can read on their own. I have the table set where all the tiles are in 3 columns, all in consecutive order with the matching dragons under each suit. I have the north, you know, the winds and the jokers and the flowers over to the side. And what I do is I go over what they see on the table, and they all take pictures of it because it's a great way to review when they leave the house. And then my belief is to start from the bottom up, meaning that you can't really just sit down and start playing. So I go over every tile, I explain the card, and then we rotate because there's, let's say, 4 or 5 people in a class, and everybody does at least 3 hands from each section. So, you know, one girl will do it, and, you know, we help her if she needs it, but at least they know what a hand looks like. And then we mush all the tiles around, and I teach them how to play. You know, the first thing they need to do, mixing, building the wall, and it all depends on the class, but I usually get through playing 1 game of Mahjong with them. They leave a little overwhelmed, but I tell them by the end of the 2nd class, they'll really have a good feel for it. And I tell them, you know, a game, I try to, when they leave after 3 lessons, 3 2-hour lessons, I like them to play. It shouldn't take them really more than 20, 25 minutes. I say 15 is your goal. And that could take 6 months. That could take 8 months. You know, it all depends. Everybody learns differently. But I find it very exhilarating for me because I really have a passion for the game. So I guess it comes through. I'm very excited. I said, you know, when that new card comes, you're going to get a real thrill once you start playing, and I tell them to order their card early. But everybody, see, and I usually have people that have mothers and grandmothers that have played. So they're very excited because they have their mothers set, and it really makes a nice connection. Mothers and daughters really have now a lot to talk about. You know, let's say the mother's in Florida, she's here, and she'll say, so what hand did you make today? Did you win? You know, so I think it's a real connector, whether it's a friend, whether it's a mom or a grandmother. And then, you know, when your children are growing up, you teach them by the age of 9. Between 9 and 12 is a perfect age to learn Mahjong.
So many times we get asked, oh, I don't play. We see you're in this bit. Would you like our set? You know, do you want to buy? And we say, no, please hold on to it. Just maybe you'll play.
Yes, I
And
agree.
they thank us later because a few years later they pick it up and then they're thrilled that they kept the set.
Exactly. I have women who say, you know, I gave it away. I don't know. I didn't know whether I would ever play. And it's really sad. And it must show on my face because, you know,
yeah.
the old sets have a certain feel, and especially when it belonged to someone important in your family.
When you were saying that you set the tables and you organize it, obviously you know some of the players, so you know their style. But how do you define an experienced player, an advanced player? What goes into is it their strategy? Is it the length of time they're playing?
Yes. When someone new calls me, I say, how long have you been playing? How long does it take you to play a game? You know, do you play for money? You know, that kind of defines, you know, some people don't ever play for money, and that's fine. But if you want to sit at an advanced table at my club, you have to kind of, you know, play for money or they double the card. I've got some really fast tables at my club. So then I'll know. And then some say, I want a friendly table. So, well, what does that mean? Well, I'm not competitive. I like to talk and yeah. So I know exactly the few tables that like that. So, you know, I've gotten to know my people. very well. But, you know, I never let someone come without talking to them, because the worst thing you can do is put somebody at a table that's either too slow or too fast. And, oh, it's, you know, it's not good. It's like any game. You need to be on the level of your peers. And then I tell them, you know, it's your first time coming. If it's too slow, too fast, whatever, you just tell me. And I have loads of tables I could put you at. But I have to tell you, I'm 98% on the money. I really am. It's,
Well, Greg,
I kind of know already.
Greg complimented your great job organizing tables. She approves.
Oh, thank you. Well, it was fun teaching all of Greg's friends. It really was. And it's wonderful, and it changes people's lives. I mean, yeah.
And
Greg,
what we've noticed so much, because we do something called Why I Maj and Men That Maj, because we noticed that the stereotypes are kind of what I thought is that it's older Jewish women. And we realized that
right.
it isn't. I mean, it's so many of the Mahjong royalty are not older, not Jewish, and not women. So it's just so interesting to see.
It is. It is.
We noticed that almost every theme of every person we interviewed is the community and the social aspect of it. And pardon me and Donna, but you know, we're looking at our phones to help make sure people are getting on and everything. But Mahjong makes you put down your phone. It makes you connect. It makes you look across the table, and it makes. And Donna and I were talking to somebody doing a documentary on the game, and he was amazed that teenagers now are doing a full swing the opposite direction. That they don't want to just be on the phone. They want to have a reason to connect one-on-one. And they're getting into either American National Mahjong League Mahjong or other versions of Mahjong because of that.
Yes, I've been teaching in the last year and a half. I would say my clientele has changed. I'm teaching 30, 40-year-olds. They have 9-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds. And so to them, they drop their kids off at school and they come here. So I sometimes have to teach at like 9:30 in the morning, which I don't usually do. But they say, look, we're going to drop our kids off. We never get a chance to really get together. So they come and then they go to lunch and then they pick up their kids from school. So it's really a whole different set of women. But you're right. I used to teach women, you know, that were retiring and they were a little older. And now it seems to be swinging back, which is wonderful. That's why I wanted to teach Mahjong. I realized that Mahjong really waned in the 80s and 90s. And then, you know, we had just moved back to New York from New Jersey, and then 9/11 happened, and no one was really traveling. Do you know that I didn't have enough hours in the day? People loved coming to my home, in my dining room. They felt safe, and they said, you know, we don't know what to think about. We want to think about something different than what's going on. And when you play Mahjong, I'm sure you'll all agree that it really takes your mind to another place, and the time goes by so quickly. And it's wonderful. It just kind of lifts you out of wherever you are and puts you in a good place for 2 or 3 hours. So
yeah, and in doing this Mahjong community and our business, the saddest thing that we hear a lot of sad stories, or I gave my mother's set away, you know. But one of the saddest thing is, I wish I had learned to play when my mother was alive, so we could play together. Yes. And that's very sad, you know.
It is. A lot of women said, I told my mother I'm never going to play Mahjong like her.
That's right.
And here we are sitting at the table and she's learning Mahjong. And it is sad because I think it would have been a really nice connection. There's something about the old time players, you know, just the way they organize their tiles, you know, what they say. It's just the way they move out their rack. It's like you're learning, you know, the traditions come through. But I really teach the game like the old time style, you know.
You notice, you said younger. Do you notice any more men playing lately, or?
I've taught some men, but mostly I would say they come with their wives or their girlfriends. But I always get 1 or 2 men at my club. But I would say I haven't taught more than 10 men over the 15 years. It really seems to be a woman's game.
But during the coronavirus and quarantine, a lot of wives, if are making their husbands learn.
Yes, yes, they are. I think it's great. I think men would like this. It's a real thinking game. I know that men have been learning canasta with their wives because they want to play with another couple. But Mahjong, maybe slowly but surely it will, because I think it's great. A lot of couples want to learn so that, their two sets of friends can play together.
So since we have the famous Linda Feinstein available to ask, any good quick tips for strategy that you could share?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think it's very important how you organize your rack when you pick up those tiles. And that's what I really stress. And I think learning the card is so important. No one expects you to memorize it. I don't even know the card this year that well because I haven't really been playing online. But when you pick up those tiles on your rack, you should kind of see what section you fall into. And I have everyone in my class, the first assignment is to memorize the names of the different sections. I think this year there's only 9. Because I said, if you know the sections, you don't have to scroll all over the card. Because when when I first teach, I say, oh, look at 3, 6, 9. And they're like looking all over the card. So I say, you see, I want you to know that where 3, 6, 9 is, where 2, 4, 6, 8 is. It's really important. You don't know what to play if you don't know kind of the categories. I find that so important. And I tell them to practice on their own if they have a set, by putting all the tiles in the middle of the table, and you pick 14 tiles and you do the Charleston alone, with the table. You put 3 on the table, pick 3 and do it 7 times, like in real playing. And you should be able to see what you're going to be playing. And if you do that a half hour a day, throw in those tiles, pick more, you will get familiar with the card. That's the key to success. I don't know what else to say, but it really is. You got to know that card. And I play online a lot against the computer when I get a new card, because I don't want to be, I don't like pressure. It makes me anxious. So I like to get to know the card, and pretty soon it all kind of falls in. You always pick your favorite hands. And I tell people, just because you're going to do the consecutive run hand until you get like crazy, you'll know when it's time to move around the card and play other hands. It happens. I would say it takes a good 6 months to become an advanced beginner on to the low intermediate. And in a year, I would say you'd be a very solid intermediate, and maybe more if you play more during the week. So
we have a question from a viewer, from Judy Waxman. She says, I have a question about when to stop second Charleston. Most stop if they can't or don't want to break up 2 possible hands.
Well, okay. I'm speaking like an experienced player now. I know a lot of people like to stop, but I tell them, you can't keep doing that all the time. You're always going to have a few possibilities. I think people have to make choices. I really do. And there are times I stop, but I have 2 complete hands. So I stop. But I don't do that all through the game. If you stop the Charleston too much and you're not 3 away from Mahjong or 2 away from Mahjong, after a while, people will get a little upset and they'll say, well, were you close to Mahjong? And if you tell them, no, I had 3 hands, I didn't know what to do. I like to be closer to Mahjong when I stop the Charleston. That's what I feel. I don't feel, I think you have to make a few decisions along the way. But it's a hard thing to do. It is. But I think you have to force yourself. It's like life. You've got to make a commitment along the way. You really do. You can't play 5 hands. You can't dance at 3 weddings at the same time. I tell them that. Those are my exact words, because they all want to hold everything. I said, you've got to give some stuff away and keep the best of the best tiles. And it usually works, and you can't keep changing your hand throughout the game. You will never win a game of Mahjong, because if you keep changing, all the tiles go out and you'll never get those tiles in. I once taught someone who changed her hand constantly. And I said, you know, this is not good. And she said, well, I like to change. I see things going. And you know, she never won a game. And at the end of the course, she said, I'm not playing Mahjong anymore. I never win. So, you know, I said, well, you changed your hand too much. Sometimes you have to go with what you plan. And as you get to know the card, you'll be able to make those changes much easier. You can take 20 minutes to change your hand. If it doesn't come swiftly, play what you have. It's okay. I tell people it's not whether you win, which is nice. I love winning. I love getting jokers. But I think if you pick a hand and play it well and you know what you're doing, I think that's really the most important thing in Mahjong.
Makes sense.
But, you know, when you play a lot of years, you kind of sometimes change your view, but, you know, of the game. But really, play the game well. Understand the hand you're playing. It doesn't have to, you know, always be, you don't always have to win. But, you know, it's
So
nice. Yeah, go ahead.
So we had a minute left, and I was able to upgrade.
I was just about to do it.
Yeah, I saw it come across the screen. Okay.
We upgraded the time.
So we
okay.
have to cut off. We have more time to continue if anybody has any other questions.
I just want to say hi to Christine. I know you're hot, so I feel bad. Her air conditioner's broken.
Oh, is it hot? How is it by you? Is it very hot?
In the beginning of quarantine, it was so lovely. I would walk in the mornings and walk in the afternoons, and there was actually like somewhat of a breeze. And now it's just like walking into a pizza oven.
Yes. Yeah.
It's awful.
And a hurricane might be coming our way, so we have to deal with that.
Oh, that's right. I saw that on TV tonight on the news.
Mm-hmm.
But look, you know, it will cool off. They say next week it's going to be in the 80s and not so much humidity. So there's always something good to look forward to.
So do you have any, like, were there any funny stories while teaching that just stood out, or the funniest questions you've been asked, or?
Well, you know, I was once teaching a very lovely lady. I was giving her a private lesson, and it was a hot summer day, but you know, I did have air conditioning, but I guess it wasn't enough. So she says, listen, I'm going to take off my blouse. I have a walk hole bra. Are you okay with that? I said, sure, why not? So, you know, you really, and one woman came in and she had things she wanted to talk about. She says, forget the lesson. I want to talk to you. I have some things. You seem like a sensible person. I need to have your opinions on some things that are going on in my life. So we sat and talked for 2 hours. But you know, it's wonderful though. I've met some really great people. And look, some, you know, you have people that learn differently, that need more time. Somebody said to me, they called up after the lessons and they said, listen, don't tell my friends, but I want to have 3 more lessons with you, but don't tell them I'm doing it. I want to show how good I can become, but I don't want them to know that I took 3 more lessons. So, you know, it's fun. It's fun just meeting personalities and finding out things. And, you know, somebody made me a beautiful necklace once, and she sold jewelry on Madison Avenue. So yeah, I've had some really good times, and you know, teaching of some of the famous people, it was very awesome. It really was. So
Linda, Cheryl wants to know how she could contact you.
How can she contact me? Well, she can email me. I have a really easy email. I took this out 20 years ago before Mahjong was popular. It's mahjongteacher at AOL.com, and it's 2 G's. Or she can give me a buzz on my cell phone anytime, and that's 917-647-9599. Sure, we can talk, we can chat. It sounds good.
Your website to sign up?
My website is Manhattan mahjongclub.com. And I'm hopefully, you know, there'll be a vaccine and we can all get healthy and I can reopen up my club and start teaching. And I hope things get back to normal. So right now I'm baking a lot. I probably have gained a few pounds, but
Raise your hand if you baked a banana bread this quarantine.
yes. I know everyone seems to
banana bread. We're all cooking banana bread. And then supposedly sourdough, but that's too advanced for me. I don't know.
Oh, somebody said it took her 15 minutes to make it and it looked beautiful. She sent me a picture. I've never had sourdough.
Well, but you have to take care of it every day. What is it, a sourdough starter? You have to really take care of it.
Oh, really? Well, I like easy. I made a blueberry cake with a nice topping, and I made a strawberry cake, and I had to throw one out, but I finally got it right. I made a honey cake that isn't dry because I used a half a cup of rum-soaked raisins overnight. I soaked them. Whoa! I just got drunk just taking them out of the refrigerator, but the cake was incredible. It was just incredible. So, it's very nice to kind of look at your creation. And
just out of curiosity for everyone here, just to chime in, if you want to tell us where you're from and like how long you've been playing, because it's just, we love hearing from, are these Zoom talks for the experienced player, or these Zoom talks for it? It's just very interesting for us to see what you guys are interested in connecting. And then we realized, Donna and I realized that our first, Karen Going was our first talk. And then we realized that this Linda Fisher,
yes,
Greg, and Barney are all in New York. We realized it was
Everyone's
a very
in New York, right?
yes,
Zoom. So
yes, they are.
Stand to the West Coast. So.
Right. Oh, Barney, I've met. He's come to my club. He's amazing. He's such a nice guy, and he's very talented
for the sport, for the game.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, wow. So we have someone from Palm Desert, California, 115 degrees here.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. We have Oregon, Los Angeles. Helen's in Los Angeles. Hi, Helen.
Not to embarrass Helen, but you started with 4 players and you have how many now? 100?
I get 100 to.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not Linda. That was actually to Helen. She's a friend of ours in California, and she started as a hobby that expanded from playing tennis to Mahjong, and now she has over 100 friends. Yep. So in flattery, her empty nest project.
Yeah.
Well, Linda, are you in New York now? Uh-oh.
No background noise, Donna. We couldn't hear you.
I just put everyone on mute. Okay. Oops. Okay. Uh-oh. Did we lose her?
No, I think she's there.
Yep. So I was asking Linda if she was in New York right now, and is Sarabeth still open?
No, they haven't opened because they're not doing sidewalk. The New York looks like Paris now because the city gave them the street, and they've done some unbelievable separating and decorative. You really feel like you can just stroll around and drop into a nice restaurant. But no, Sarabeth probably won't open for quite a few months until they get into the stage, that 5th stage, I think, where people can come in. They're very able to separate. It's a gigantic restaurant, but I guess until, everyone is able to. So I don't know, it might be quite a few months, if not into 2021. Well, we'll see. All my members really miss it. I send them out an email every Monday, not every Monday, around once a month. And, we catch up what each one is doing. And they all say, it's great playing online, but they really miss that personal contact.
That's true. So if we have any other questions, if somebody wants to raise their hand or if they want to type it, but if not.
Well, I was going to ask Linda, it might be a silly question, but we get this a lot. So so people have lunch and then play, or do they play and take a break? Because nobody wants food touching the tiles, and it's a question that comes up a lot. you know.
Well, the table does not have any tiles on it. When they come in, it's a clean table with forks and knives, whatever, and they bring the food to the table. They get a drink, and then in around a half hour, when everyone is done, we have two great waiters, and they bust the table, and then they put there's the sets right by by each table. No, I don't allow eating, and you know, some people want to do that, and I say no, 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 no. And you know, I have Clorox wipes, and usually at the end of the day, people will just wipe off their set and put it in. I got the soft cases, so it's very easy to pack up. Very, very easy to pack up. And you know, I have replacement racks if something breaks, and you know, and sometimes it happens. You know, if someone loses a dice, but I have a lot of things that I take care of, and you know, people tell me, you know, don't sit me with her, sit me with that person, and I want to sit by the window, not by the wall. But you know, I handle it, you know, because in the end, everybody really enjoys playing the game of Mahjong.
So that actually, when you just said that, it made me think, how do you deal with house rules?
Okay. I tell everyone that when you sit down at a table and you, let's say you're new to the club, you say, well, what are your table rules? And I would say that maybe half the tables have little things, like some people play with a joker exposed, you know, on the wall. The kitty, some people don't do a kitty, some people do. But everybody, I let people do their table rules, but they have to be reasonable. And I wanted to ask everybody if they had any feedback. I'm interested. You know, you know, when two people call Mahjong, you know, the original rule that's been around for 80 years, it's the person next to the, you know, the next person in line to go calls Mahjong, even though another person across the table will have it, and that's fine. But now they added, in fact, I have it, I wrote it down. They added the word except after a rule that's been like around for 100 years, except when other caller has begun to expose tiles. Now, no one at my club likes to play that way, and it's caused some confrontations. You know, it's called slamming in New York. It means that even though you're the next player and you should have the right, because you called for Mahjong, if somebody is faster, let's say, and says, well, I have Mahjong too, and starts putting it out on the rack, I mean, I don't agree with that. I was wondering what people felt about that rule.
Donna and I sent a petition to the Mahjong League.
Right.
Thank you. What did they say? Anything?
Didn't hear anything. I mean, the only thing they said is that after the rule was clarified in the Mahjong Made Easy book, but not clarified in any sense that it.
No, that's right.
To try to make it clear.
That's right. They put it in their yearly thing the year before last, and everybody was coming up to me, Linda, do you know that if two people call it, whoever, and I said, what? I said, I don't remember that. And on the card, they hadn't changed it, but this year, it became very official on the 2020 card. And I was really against it. They said it's less confusion, but it's not. How could it be less confusion if someone is a second faster and starts putting out their tiles? So I'm so glad you did that, because I really felt very strongly. And then before I had a chance to call, we had the virus and I really couldn't get in touch with them.
Katie Albert asked you, Linda, if you've ever attended the League's annual meeting.
No, I haven't, as a matter of fact. But one of my students, who was really a journalist, actually did attend one year. And she said not too many people show up. But no, I have never.
In case anyone is looking, they did actually just release their email address for the first time. So if you are having an issue reaching, oh my God, look, I wish I took a picture of Greg's face.
Yeah, they would never release their email.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. They're offering a service. You pay for the service, but you can't get in touch with them. So
I know. And people,
Customer service, and I want to say at nationalmahjongleague.com, but it's actually on our Facebook page. We shared a picture. Oh, actually, if you go to their website now, they say you can contact us for questions. And
right.
a member of our community let us know that that was being changed, and hopefully that'll help, because a lot of people, we sold 743 pre-sale cards to raise funds for Alzheimer's.
Right.
And out of that whole order, we only had 2 cards not make it on time. All the rest of the cards got there on time. So we were very relieved, but we had a lot of people thinking that we had a connection just because of our Facebook page, that we could help them get their cards. And we're like, no, we can't. And finally they said, you can email us now. So
yes,
that'll be very helpful.
In fact, it's funny you should say that, because when I bought a lot of cards, obviously, because I was going to be teaching and all that. So I said in my email just the other day, I said, look, I have a lot of cards. If anyone didn't get theirs, it's standard size. I said, let me know. I got 6 phone calls saying they never received their card. It was funny. So I'm mailing out to people the card. But it's, it's nice. I think we're such a nice community, helping each other. But I'm really glad you sent that petition in, because I was really upset about that rule. That's not a rule you play around with.
It seemed to go with the rest of the underlying aspects of the game. The rest of the game is such a team, it's an individual player game,
yes,
but working together, and that goes against, that.
How does everybody like the new card, the 2020? You like it?
Good. Actually, a lot of people were complaining that they felt that you couldn't change hands. I find that the singles and pairs, I'll go for that first. And if I start getting jokers, I find it's an exceptionally flexible hand.
I think so. I was able to change when I was playing with my sister the other week, and I feel it is where you can change a lot of.
And I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but I think there's either 2 or 4 hands where there's only 2 tiles difference. It's one of the wins with 2020 and the wins hands with just soap, and it's great because if you can't go concealed, and then you could just swap between the 2. So I like that. Yeah, I like that.
And there's a lot of different consecutive hands. It was a little confusing at first. They're like 1 number off, but yet they're all. It took me a while. It took me a little while, but
is the 5 flowers in a lot of the other hands.
I love it. I love the 5 flowers. I do. I think they should do a hand with all 8.
Yes.
I think that would be
this is actually funny because it's going to be one of our posts, because we were just taking a picture. But I thought it was very interesting. They're not under the quint section. And someone made a comment, because you don't need a joker. They're 5 natural flowers. So it just needs to be under the quint section. So
well, we find that people are missing the addition hand. I don't think people love the multiplication. I don't know how
I miss it all the time.
I think misses the addition.
I would have liked them to make it separate. I'm a person, right? I've been playing with the card for over 35 years or so. Those addition hands, I lose them. I always see them too late, and you have to make them in 3 suits, both sides.
Yeah.
I would have liked the multiplication. I like the addition and multiplication.
I think if the multiplication was in 3 suits in the same, no, it's not in the same end 3 suits, is it this year? It's just in one, I forget. But I would, it is in 3. So it would be nice if it was in 1 as well. A lot of times I'll have all the same, and I'm wishing,
Yeah.
Francis, do you have a question?
No, I was going to say, I'd be curious to see what Greg has to say about it. We can
yes.
You unmute yourself.
Hi, baby doll.
See what Greg has to say.
George, I'm not a big fan of the card, but there is a lot of flexibility which I enjoy, particularly in the 369 category and in this consecutive. But I'm not a big fan
Of this year's card.
of this year's card. Yeah.
But I think, a lot of people, when it first came out, there were people that didn't like it at all. And I think it's also when you're first playing in person everybody always kind of complains about it for the first few weeks and then
Yes.
get the hang of it. So I think that's also part of people's complaints about the card at first.
One thing that we've seen is people playing online and the different platforms, but they pick the wrong card. So like, we don't understand why it won't let me call Mahjong. And we're like, well,
Right.
that hand was on the 2017 card. So on real Mahjong, you have to pick which card you're using and pick.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, if anybody has any, Greg was saying a lot of dragon hands, and thank you, Christine. I appreciate your help giving everybody the.
Yep.
Thank you, appreciate that. And somebody asked, I know I scrolled up, I missed. Somebody asked, our website is 2 words, 1 word put together, Modern Mahjong, and we spell it with only 1 G.com.
And then Greg said it's a hard card to teach. This new card. What do you think, Linda?
I agree with you, Greg. Unfortunately, I never had a chance to teach it, but every year when I look at the new card, I say, oh, yes, I absolutely agree with you. I think it would have been very hard for some of the students to pick up. There's a lot of hands in each section. Do you notice that? The 2, 4, 6, 8, the consecutive, there are so many hands that I get a little overwhelmed, but yes, I totally agree with you. It would have been a little tougher for me. I would have had to really stay on my toes for this one and make them understand it. Absolutely.
We were saying to Joy, who works at the National Mahjong League, we're glad there's no controversy this year, because with COVID and the office closing, I don't know and their customer service is not great. So we were happy to see the card is pretty clear.
I wonder if the way that they're gonna plan the card for next year, are they gonna pick the National Mahjong League website and have to play online in order to plan the card? They might, because usually they hunker down and play,
Yes,
together.
they hunker down. That's right. I was asked to join one year, but my schedule, they're very serious about this. Like from August to like October, you had to be there 3 days a week from 9 to 3. And, they get serious about it, but you're right. They'll have to do it online.
So I'm not sure, Murphy MacBook, I know that you said your name and now I forget who that was, but they just asked any good books to recommend for strategy. And I know that's kind of a softball question for our next speaker.
Well, I think for a beginner who has a Mahjong set, I like the Elaine Sandberg, is it?
Yes.
I like it. She teaches a lot like I do, the questions, the quizzes after each chapter. And if you have a Mahjong set, it's a good book. Like, you could take classes, but that's a really good book to go through on your own.
So just to speak, when we have Greg is the co-author of a book coming out that's the same publisher as Elaine's book, right? And the way there's a new edition where they have at the back a paper Mahjong set to pop out.
Oh, Greg, that's very impressive.
You gotta say, what do you
They just pop out, they cut out. They cut out, they don't pop out.
Oh, sorry.
Cut out.
Woody designed it, yeah.
But they don't pop out. You have to cut them out with scissors. But that's another,
That's okay. Oh, I think that's wonderful.
or an X-Acto knife.
That works.
Right.
It's gonna have tiles and a card.
Yep.
Tiles you can cut out.
Wow.
For someone who doesn't have to buy a set, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea, because some people, I tell people who don't want to invest in a set to get a travel set, but that's still around $40. Greg, I can't wait to see the book. That sounds like, that's great. When is it coming out?
August 25th, and we'll send you one.
Oh, that would be so nice. Oh, I'm so excited. What a great idea.
So on that note, we are hoping that we are all playing again soon. We have,
Can I ask a question? What was the name of that book you said on strategy? Elaine's what?
I think it's Elaine Sandberg.
Oh, Sandberg. Okay.
Okay, and she wrote two. One is a little, you know, a little more advanced once you do the first one, but it's a great book to kind of learn on your own a little bit if you have an idea of, you know, moving out the tiles. But it is a good book. I was very impressed with it, and that came out a few years ago.
Yeah, I play, but strategies would be good.
Okay, I think she touches upon that.
Okay.
So Linda,
Strategy is important.
everything we heard about you is true and more. You have been such a gracious guest. We really appreciate you coming and spending time with us.
Well, I really enjoyed it. You know, I haven't seen a lot of Mahjong players in like 4 months.
It's the way
I wish we...
No tiles were moved, but at least we have that connection of feeling like we're playing.
Yes, it's nice chatting with other Mahjong players, and thank you for asking me.
So our
we're having more Zoom talks coming up, so maybe you'll join us on Barney and Greg and Linda.
August 5th is Barney, August 12th is Greg and Woody, August 19th is Linda Fisher, and then after that, if the interest is there, we'll keep going. And then our tournament is August 7th through 9th, and that you can see on modernmahjong.com as well. So thank you all for joining us and for your questions and for just being interested and for keeping the community. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Nice to see everybody.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.